Mike, the marriage counselor from Minnesota. Dad, why are our neighbors always fighting? I hear them yelling at each other almost every day. They even yell at Tina and Jamie, who tell me they are not happy when we get together in the playground. Everyone deals with problems, son. Every family has its issues. It doesn't matter if they are rich or poor, well-educated or not, live in a rich or poor neighborhood, problems are part of life. Some people handle problems with communication and talk about them to try to resolve them. Others yell thinking this is the best way to find a solution. I did not speak to our neighbor to try to understand what the issue is. People have their privacy, and they did not reach out to me, although they know I am a marriage counselor. So you could help them if they called you, Dad? Sure can. Conflict is part of life. You like to watch nature shows, right? Yes, Dad. The animal kingdom is amazing, and animals fight, sometimes between species, and sometimes within the same species. Exactly, son. Humans are no exception. Fighting happens between nations and countries in the form of wars, and between people in the form of fights, and even between married people, also in the form of fights and misunderstandings. But didn't the married couple fall in love with each other, and decided to commit to each other, and love each other forever? You'd think, son. Even people who love each other have moments of disagreements and fights. People don't have the same minds, they see things differently, they were raised in different environments, went to different schools, have different parents. There is something called nature and nurture, son. Nature refers to the genes we inherited from our parents, which shape our looks and, to an extent, our behaviors. Nurture refers to the way we were raised. People raise their kids differently. Some are very strict and follow rules all the time. Others are not so strict and allow their kids more freedom to do things. As people grow up, their personality is shaped and is affected by how they were treated by their parents, friends, siblings, schoolmates, the books they read, and the shows they see on TV and the internet, to name a few. But I live with my sister Maria in this house, Dad, and I know I don't like how she plays with her and my toys. She just likes to throw them on the floor. Some toys will break if she keeps doing that. I tell her not to do it, but she doesn't listen. This makes me mad. Maria is younger than you, son. Did you know that she observes what you do and imitates you? She's copying me? But I don't do that. I know I don't. You see, son, we don't see ourselves when we act or behave. The only way to see ourselves is to have someone record us. Then we look at the recording and see ourselves. You will be surprised to see that you are doing things without thinking you are doing them. I see you sometimes throw some of your toys on the floor. Maria saw you and thought that was the right thing to do for all toys, so she is copying you. She doesn't know what breaks and what does not. She just thinks that since you threw some toys on the floor, it is okay for her to do the same. So she just throws everything on the floor. I didn't know that, Dad. I should be more careful and not hate Maria for throwing my toys on the floor. No hate is necessary, son. The point here is people see things differently. Each side thinks they are right, the other side is wrong, and fights start. Have you heard of the blind people and the elephant story? No, Dad. What is that about? A group of blind people who never saw an elephant were asked to touch it and describe it. One person touched its legs, another touched its tusks, and the third touched its trunk, and the fourth touched its tail. Then the first person said the elephant is 4 thick round trunks, each is like a tree trunk. The second said, No, the elephant is a long thin curved stick, and there are only 2 of them. The third said, What are you talking about? The elephant is one long flexible trunk attached to its face. The fourth said, Absolutely not, the elephant is a thin flexible rope with a tassel attached to the end. The moral of the story is that each person described what they felt, and each one thinks they are right, and the others are wrong. But our neighbors are not blind. Dad, why do they still fight? It's not about the visual impairment, son, it is about how people understand things and think differently. I did not overhear our neighbors' conversation to try to know why they are yelling at each other, but there are many reasons why they could be doing that, like fighting over money, jealousy, dishonesty, how to talk to the kids, being away from home for too long, not liking some members of each other's friends or family. Sometimes one person thinks they deserve a lot of attention, and they are right all the time. If they are criticized, they get angry and start a fight. Some people have low self-esteem or low self-confidence or are easily frustrated or angered. Some people can only see the details and focus on them. They can't see the big picture. There are so many reasons for people's disagreements. But why would our neighbors fight over money, Dad? Could be either they are not doing well financially, or one of them is spending the money on gambling and not on the family needs. It could be one of them is giving the money to other friends or family members without being open about it. Reasons are almost endless, son. So, if I give them my allowance, will they stop fighting? Ha ha, good one, son. Sometimes the problem is lack of enough money, but other times it has nothing to do with money. It could also be because one of the parents or even both are drinking or eating something that is affecting their sound judgment, which means they cannot think clearly and correctly. Sometimes bad work conditions can make them sad and angry, and they end up fighting with each other. Dad, you said something about not liking some members of the family. I remember you told Mom you don't like Uncle Zach to visit us a lot. He is funny. Why don't you like him? Because of his table manners, son. Food just drops everywhere when he eats like we are eating in a jungle, then he burps loudly, like there is no one around. I know you find that funny, but I don't want you or your sister to learn his table manners. He also likes to sit on the couch and watch TV all day. That is not healthy. I just think he is not a good example for you. I told your mom about that, and how her brother is nice and all, but he should be more careful, especially around the kids. She just disagrees, and doesn't think there is anything wrong. Oh, I didn't know you have disagreements with Mom too, Dad. Yeah, son. Just because I am a marriage counselor doesn't mean my marriage is perfect. So there is more? We have our disagreements, me and your mom, son, but we work through them. I try my best, at least. So what do you do, Dad? Communication is key, son. I try to explain to your mom my point of view, and I try to understand her point of view. We might be able to arrive at a common ground where we agree, and sometimes that common ground is only what your mom thinks is right. If the issue is related to a house fix, your mom doesn't care much and leaves it completely up to me and what I think is right. I think of my relationship with your mom as each one of us is holding a single hair strand. If your mom pulls too hard, I loosen my grip, so the hair doesn't break. If she loosens her grip, then I pull, but make sure to maintain that hair and not break it. It sounds like the relationship is not very strong, but this is how many relationships are maintained, son. If both sides pull too hard, the relationship might break, and if they are both loose, then there is almost no relationship. It is a delicate balance, son. Why don't you tell our neighbors what you told me, Dad? I cannot just knock on their door and solve their problems. They need to seek help. Some people do and some don't. Some people can work through their differences, and some cannot, and the hair strand between them breaks. I hope they can figure out their issues soon and be happy. What is happiness, Dad? I wish it was something we can buy or eat or drink, but it is none of that, son. It is just a good feeling someone has because they achieved something they wanted. It is usually short-lived, and people will want other things to make them happy again. Mike enjoyed talking with his dad and wished he could become a marriage counselor one day. That evening Mike had a dream. Next morning, he woke his dad up to tell him about what he saw. Dad, I had a dream last night. Good morning, son. What did you see? I became a marriage counselor, Dad. I was famous, and help people who were arguing with each other all the time. I also found the source of happiness. Wow, son. So what is the source of happiness? Happiness turned out to be like yawning and laughter, Dad. It is a contagious human condition. You know, when you yawn, like you are doing now, you make Mom yawn, and Maria will yawn too. If I laugh very hard, Maria laughs and Mom smiles or even laughs. Happiness is the same, Dad. Happiness happens to someone if people around them are happy. I was happy in my dream, and that made you and Mom and Maria happy too. You know, there is some truth to that, son. In ancient times, kings used to have clowns perform in front of them to entertain them and make them laugh so they feel happy. These days we watch comedy shows and read jokes to feel better and be happier. You had a great dream. I hope you grow up and become a successful marriage counselor. I hope so too, Dad. Can't wait.